Welcome, my friends, to today's story night of April 4th, 1453 AD, beneath the western wall of Constantinople. The moon was not full that night. Darkness hung heavy, as deep as the sorrow of the city we guarded. I sat beside the cold stone wall and wrote these words in a worn leather-bound journal I keep beneath my armor. My name is Andreas Nestor, a soldier of the Imperial Guard. This is my story. Or perhaps it is the story of Constantinople in her final breath. The wind blowing in from the Bosphorus carried with it the scent of iron and gunpowder, and the distant chime of church bells no longer calling for prayer, but sounding the alarm. Far beyond the walls, fires burned in the Ottoman encampments. Their camps sprawled like parasites across the hills, lighting the night sky with pillars of smoke. We could see them digging trenches, hauling their monstrous cannons, the largest of them. Basilica, a beast of bronze whose roar could tear a man's soul. Constantinople, jewel of the East, dream of Emperor Constantine. City of saints and emperors, how many soldiers have died upon your walls? How many poets have written of you in secret verses? Every stone in your walls speaks history. Every window whispers names of those who came and never returned. Dawn approaches. And war breathes. I was born in the Fanner district, among sailors and bakers. I never imagined I would one day stand guard upon the very walls of the city, not because I lacked love for her, but because I believed she was beyond the need for protection. She was immortal, but now we wait for the day when fate strikes its final drum. Our emperor, Constantine the 11th, is not like other rulers. He does not wear pride like a crown. He bears the weight of history in silence. I saw him days ago, kneeling alone in the great church, weeping not with fear, but as if he were bidding farewell, asking forgiveness from the saints he can no longer protect. A meeting behind the wall yesterday. As I slipped through the shadows of the western rampart, I heard a soft voice near a pile of rubble. A girl, or perhaps a ghost from an older time. She wore a simple dress the color of old ivory, her hair wild and tangled, as though she had just stepped out of an ancient fable. "Who are you?" I asked. "I am the daughter of the wall." "And its memory," she whispered, drawing strange symbols in the dirt with her finger. "Are you fleeing the battle?" "No, you are the one fleeing, soldier. You write your fear instead of facing it." And then she vanished, as if swallowed by the night. I searched, but found no trace, yet the ashes beneath my boots still bore the imprint of her small feet. And since that night, I've seen her in my dreams standing upon the wall, whispering a single phrase: "Do not be afraid. What falls lives on in memory." And now, the trumpets cry, the trumpets scream now. The hour draws near. The enemy is at the gates. My breath is shallow. The earth beneath me smells of iron and sweat. I will lift my sword once more, and I will continue writing this tale if I can. But if not, let this page be my final message. The cold was sharper than any blade. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of knowing the sun might rise on a city forever changed. I stood atop the Theodosian wall this morning, gazing out over the trenches carved by Ottoman hands. They were like veins, dark, deep, pulsing with soldiers and smoke. I could hear the clamor of their hammers, the grunts of men hauling iron, and the slow, methodical grind of wheels dragging the basilica into place. Each hour it edged closer to our gates like death-made metal. Below, the people of the city moved like shadows. Quiet, tired, mothers carried children wrapped in cloth. Priests whispered prayers in corners, and merchants no longer opened stalls, but offered bread in exchange for candles or salt. Fear is a strange currency. Its value changes with each sunrise. A city in prayer at the Church of the Holy Wisdom, I saw a line stretching beyond the courtyard. Men, women, even beggars, all waiting to step inside. It was not confession they sought, but comfort. A touch of the sacred before steel strikes flesh. The scent of incense was thick, clinging to my armor. I stood near a column and watched a girl no older than 10 light a candle taller than her. She kissed its base and whispered something, perhaps a name, perhaps a plea. There was no weeping. The time for tears had passed. This was the silence of resolve, the kind that only comes when a people accept their fate and choose to meet its standing. The Emperor walks among us this evening. Emperor Constantine himself walked the length of the outer wall. He did not ride, nor was he flanked by gold-armored guards. He walked alone, greeting the soldiers by name. When he passed me, he paused and said, "Stand strong, Andreas. Let the wall remember your breath." He knew my name. That one moment lit something within me no priest's words ever could. After he passed, I pressed my palm to the stone and whispered back, "Remember me." Whispers returned. She came again tonight, the girl, the shadow, the echo. I sat alone near the broken arch where we'd first met. The fire was low. I heard her before I saw her. "You still write?" she asked, her voice carrying no age, no time. "Yes," I said, not lifting my head. "It is the only weapon I trust." She knelt beside me. Her fingers grazed the parchment. Words survive where swords do not. I turned to look at her, but she was already gone. Only a feather remained on the stone, a single white feather, untouched by soot or blood. The night thickens now. As I write these final lines for the day, I can feel the city tightening. Like lungs holding their last breath, they say tomorrow the cannon fires. If it does, may the wall hold. If it doesn't, may memory hold me. The kind of dawn poets rarely write about one without color or warmth. Just a gray sky that sat like a stone above our heads. No birds sang, no wind stirred. Only silence, thick and dreadful, like the pause before a scream. Then it came, the roar, not from heaven, nor earth, but something in between. The basilica cannon fired its first breath. The ground shuddered beneath us. My ears rang, my heart stuttered. Even the stones of the wall seemed to moan. I clutched my shield not from instinct, but to stop my hands from shaking. The shot crashed into the outer rampart with a sound I will never forget, not the sharp crack of battle, but a deep, guttural thunder that seemed to shake time itself. And then, dust, a great cloud of it rising like a wounded spirit. When it cleared, a chunk of the wall the size of a house had vanished. We did not speak. We simply ran, filling the breach, hauling rubble, shouting to one another like ants in a fire. The old veterans among us knew what to do. We stacked broken stones, poured tar, nailed planks, anything to keep the gate from falling. But the worst part wasn't the cannon. It was the silence after, the waiting for the next strike. Among the wounded stones later that day, I walked past a section of the wall where men had been buried beneath falling bricks. I saw a hand reaching from the rubble, just a hand, open, palm up, as if asking a question. I knelt and touched it. It was still warm. I don't know whose it was. No one called for him. No one searched. The city was full of ghosts now, and the living were beginning to speak in whispers like them. As I moved away, I passed Father Petros, a priest from the monastery near the sea wall. He walked barefoot, robes torn, holding a wooden cross blackened at the edges. He said nothing, but his eyes followed the smoke rising from the campfires outside the city. He knew, as we all did, that this was not just a siege, it was an ending. A letter never sent tonight. I wrote a letter to my mother. She lives beyond the walls, far to the west in Thessaloniki. I know it will never reach her, but the act of writing it brought a kind of calm. Dearest mother, if you are reading this, then perhaps God has spared more than just stone. I am alive for now. The city groans, but still stands. The enemy is clever, strong, relentless, but we are stubborn, and we have not forgotten how to love what we protect. If I fall, know this, I did not run. I held the wall, and when the cannon roared, I did not flinch. I remembered you, your voice, your lullabies, And I stood. I sealed it, folded it, placed it in my satchel, even though I know no messenger will carry it. But perhaps the wind will. She returned again. And as night fell, I climbed the southern tower. From there, the city looks like a wounded lion, proud even in pain. The Hagia Sophia glows with candlelight. I can hear faint hymns carried on the wind. Somewhere, someone is still praying. Then I saw her again. The girl. She stood near the tower's edge, hair wild, eyes full of some sadness I can't name. "You shouldn't be here," I told her. "This is where I belong," she said softly. "With the forgotten. Are you real?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Does it matter?" "No, I suppose not." She approached and took my hand. Her skin was cold like marble. "You will be remembered, Andreas," she said. "Even if no one speaks your name, the stone will remember your breath." She pressed something into my palm, a shard of old mosaic tile. It shimmered faintly as if it still carried the light of a vanished age. Then she was gone. I didn't see her leave. I didn't hear her steps. But her presence lingered, like incense after prayer. A city that refuses to die now. As I write by torchlight in a narrow guardroom, I can hear the soldiers below singing, not in defiance, not in celebration, but in memory. Old battle hymns, songs their fathers taught them. Songs meant for mountain passes and taverns, not city walls and cannon fire. But still, they sing. And as long as we sing, the city lives. Let tomorrow come. Let the cannon roar again. We will be waiting. There is a sound cities make when they cannot sleep. It's not the roar of war or the march of soldiers. It's something quieter whispers beneath windows, the soft creak of doors opening just enough to let in a prayer, the clink of metal bowls, the weeping behind shuttered balconies. A hush that falls over the streets like a mourning veil. Tonight, Constantinople cannot sleep, nor can I. The cannon has grown silent for now, but its echo remains in the walls, in our ribs, in the silence between heartbeats. Each stone seems to hold its breath, waiting for the next scream. The fire within the palace word spread this morning like wind through dry leaves. There was fire in the outer court of Blockerney Palace. An accident, perhaps, or sabotage. I saw the smoke rising from the copper domes, staining the sky a sickly gray. When I arrived, the flames were already dying. What caught my eye, though, was not the fire, but the people. Nobles in embroidered cloaks stood beside beggars. Pages stood shoulder to shoulder with soldiers. There was no shouting, no blame. They simply stared at the ruin together. It was as if the city had finally stripped itself bare. No more gold to hide behind. No more bloodlines or titles. We are all the same now, keepers of a doomed dream. Inside the walls, a moment of stillness later, I walked the main road that once carried emperors in triumphal processions. Now, it is lined with torn banners and burned-out lanterns. Still, some try to live. At the old fountain of the nymphs, I saw a boy filling a cracked jug with water. He couldn't have been more than 10. When he saw me, he didn't run. He simply said, "Will the wall fall today, sir?" I knelt beside him. "I don't know," I answered, "but I will be there if it does." He nodded, and in his eyes I saw not fear, but understanding. Children grow quickly during sieges. They shed innocence like autumn leaves. The emperor's prayer at dusk, the city gathered. In the Hagia Sophia, under its soaring dome of cracked mosaics and whispered history, the emperor stood before the people, not in armor, not on a throne, but in a simple robe. He did not give a speech. He prayed. He knelt. So did we all. For one fleeting moment, it was as if time stepped backward. The domes glowed. The hymns rose. And Constantinople, broken, starved, betrayed, stood like a queen once more. I wept. I do not know why, but so did many. It felt like the final heartbeat of something ancient. The return of the whispering girl. She came again, after the bell of midnight. I found her where the moonlight cut across the broken marble plaza of the old Senate House. You walk often in the places no one visits, I told her. They remember best, she said. What are you? She looked up at me, her face pale as alabaster, eyes like wet stone. I am what the city leaves behind, she said. I am the breath of forgotten things, the voice in the dust. She led me to an archway sealed long ago. Behind it, a mosaic hidden from sight for 100 years. It showed a young emperor holding a scroll and a sword, flanked by saints with outstretched hands. This is how your city began, she whispered. Not with power, but with promise. She touched the mosaic. It crumbled, like memory, like time. Then she was gone, a soldier's resolve. I returned to my post beneath the northern tower. The other soldiers were asleep or staring at the stars. One hummed an old lullaby. I joined him. The melody had no name, but it made the walls feel less alone. I wonder how many of us will still be standing when the end comes. I no longer fear death. I only fear dying without being remembered, so I write. I carve words into silence, in case stone forgets me, in case the girl never comes again. Tomorrow they dig deeper. We know the Ottomans are tunneling beneath the walls. Their miners work by night, trying to plant explosives to collapse our towers from below. Engineers and foreign volunteers from Genoa and Venice now labor to find and flood the tunnels. Some nights you can hear hammer against hammer beneath your feet, like the heartbeat of a monster beneath the skin of the earth. Still, the city breathes. Barely, but it breathes. If this is to be our last spring, then let the lilacs bloom in defiance. Let the bells toll not for death, but for memory. Tomorrow, I will return to the wall, and I will write again. The morning came clothed in fire. It was not a sunrise, but an ignition. The cannon thundered louder than ever before, shaking the earth like divine judgment. The final breach had opened. The Ottomans poured through the shattered gate of St. Romanus like a black tide. We fought. God knows we fought. Steel met steel. Arrows fell like rain. The dead became the ground we stood on. There was no more order, no more commands, only chaos, only the sound of prayers half said and names shouted into the smoke. I saw Emperor Constantine for the last time at the Mies, sword in hand, his royal cloak torn, fighting as a common soldier. He disappeared beneath the crush of bodies, and we never saw him again. No trumpet marked his fall, no scribe recorded his final word, but we who stood near him, we felt it. The moment the city exhaled, it was not an explosion or a cry that told us it was over. It was silence, applause. A great, aching breath, as if the very stones of Constantinople sighed and surrendered. Then came the flags, the crescent raised above Hagia Sophia. The bells fell silent, the last entry I write now from a cellar beneath the shattered monastery of St. Thecla. My leg is wounded, my sword is gone, my armor torn, but I live. Around me, others huddle, children, monks, an old woman who holds an icon to her chest as if it still breathes. Above us, the city is no longer ours. The chants are different now. The rhythm of boots on marble is no longer familiar. Yet I write, because someone must remember. She came one last time. Tonight, perhaps in a dream, perhaps in death she came once more, the girl from the wall. But now she wore black, and her hair was braided with threads of gold. Is it over? I asked. She nodded. Yes, but not forgotten. Tears rolled down my cheeks. We did all we could. You did, she said. You held the wall. You gave memory something to cling to. She took my hand and placed the mosaic shard she'd once given me into my palm again, now glowing faintly. When they rebuild, she whispered, they will speak of you, not by name, but in the stones. And in the silence, then she vanished, and I knew I would not wake. Epilogue. Centuries later, they walk these walls now tourists, scholars, children. They speak in other tongues, take photographs, point at maps. But sometimes, if you place your ear to the stone, you might hear something faint, a whisper, a girl's voice, and the quiet breath of a soldier who never left his post. And if this tale spoke to your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Each night, a new story awaits, whispers of history, echoes of forgotten lives. For within the walls of time, countless tales still long to be heard. Sleep in peace.